Hi. So today I want to talk about feeling a little bit lost, or I guess being okay with feeling lost. So when I was young, I remember my teachers or any kind of adults or parents around me had always asked, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And this question was always very difficult for me. I remember in the first grade, for some reason, our school was assignment was to hand in what you want to do in the future, and I remember writing scientist. Like I have no idea why to this day, but I remember writing that, and many times throughout my life, when this question was asked to me by either a school assignment or from adults, I always said something different because I would always forget like what I wrote the previous year or like a few years before that when another similar assignment was given to me. So I would write a bunch of things like I don't know, like scientist or engineer or a linguist or an artist or anything like that. And I remember writing these things because, well, I didn't like any of the options that were given to us. Like we would receive a survey and there would be a huge list of jobs and I would read them. Not only would I not know what they do for a living, I just didn't never felt really compelled to this one thing that was like, oh yeah, like this is it. And I always waited for that to happen where I would see some kind of like a divine sign where, oh, like I would see a dove jumping out of the window or I don't know, like a windowsill or some kind of like light shining upon this particular job. And it would be like God speaking to me through the angels and like, oh my goodness, like I know exactly what I want to do now and things would make sense. But this never really happened to me. And I wish somebody told me that it was okay to not like any of the options that were kind of like laid out before me. That it was okay to feel like, okay, maybe the jobs that I don't, the jobs that are in front of me are not to my liking, and that's completely okay. What I noticed about society is that society is very good at helping people keep going on a path that they already know they want to get on, right? So when you go into a job interview, nobody really sits down and asks you, hey, like, do you actually want to do this job or are you here for a paycheck? Like, nobody really asks you that, right? People assume because you're in the job interview that they want to be in the job, right? They want to be working in that field. So because of that, nobody actually takes the time to really check and ask, hey, like, are you sure you want to do this? And in fact, like, I think everybody's so busy with their livelihoods and do the responsibility of adulthood and the things that they have to do or things that they feel like I have to do, like a checklist. Nobody really asks you to check when you're an adult. And when you're in high school and you're in college, I think we're still developing as human beings when we're still that young and everything is so awkward and there's so many other things happening in our lives that we're kind of not sure how to explore and navigate. And while many schools do offer things like job fairs, it's not really until you get into the job market. And when I say job market, I don't mean like a part time job. It's not until when you get to graduate and when you actually get into the labor force that you actually start learning about what jobs are actually like. Because internships are nice, but you know it comes to an end, right? Because internships are nice because somebody is always watching over you, giving you tips, or even if they're not giving you tips, it's just a small taste of what things could be like. So I don't think it's always a good reflection of what jobs can actually be. For instance, when I first got into teaching and I had to do my curriculum, one of the things that we had to do is student teaching, which is where you go into a classroom of a master teacher and you have to learn from them, right? During that time, teaching was all right because I only taught only a few hours and there was a master teacher behind me and I just had to do my job of like presenting a curriculum. So I didn't know what jobs were actually like until I got into my first year of teaching and it just broke me. And it was one of the toughest years of my life. And that's when I realized that, I picked teaching on a whim because my dad had been a teacher for a long time and I always did math for a long time. So I was like, well, why not give it a shot? And honestly, if I could go back, I don't know if I would have chosen teaching. Now I don't regret teaching necessarily because of how much I learned from it, but I wish someone told me and gave me some advice on actually how to navigate what you want to do and that it's okay to feel a little bit lost. And I think that is kind of, I'm not sure. But nowadays, I feel like it's sort of discouraged, especially when younger people want to try a job for a year and then jump into a different job. Because from the perspective of the company, all they see is just a flake, like someone who's very flaky and goes, okay, this guy's going to be only here for a year. And so maybe they're not a fan of that. But I feel like maybe we're, I guess when we're younger, we get a lot of pressure feeling like we have to stay somewhere for a long time, or maybe it's out of guilt. I certainly had that feeling when I quit teaching for the first time. I had this immense sense of guilt where I felt like, well, I joined teaching. Maybe I feel like because it's one of those humanitarian jobs. It's a very humanitarian job, teaching, right? So because of that, I feel like leaving the profession might have been, I don't know, like I guess makes me lesser of a person because I decided to leave a profession that you're supposed to stay in for a long time for the students. But at the end of the day, what I felt was that I wasn't happy being in a full time teaching job, which is why I decided to leave in the first place. So, all that to say is, if anyone's watching, I mean, maybe like all two of people that are watching the video, I really wish to tell you that if you're feeling lost and you're in the middle of your search, I think it's okay. Um, Now, that might sound irresponsible, but I think that in the midst of responsibilities of trying to, fend for our families, we kind of like end up losing a big aspect of ourselves where we felt like we could actually be okay to feel like lost. It's okay to feel like you're lost, and that it's okay to want to try and find what we want to do when we can. Now, of course, if there are responsibilities, if you're taking care of somebody else and you're, trying to like make a living, make ends meet because you want to fend for your family, you want to take care of your loved ones, and that's fine. And I think that's an absolutely noble thing to do. But why not we do that for ourselves, right? Because unfortunately, you know, many people won't do that for us, right? And if we don't do that for ourselves, then we will never get to actually find out what it is that we want to do with our lives. So I guess yeah, in a sense, I really wish that somebody had told me on how to find what it is that you want to do and like how to actually like go after it, and also more importantly, how to actually like keep the blessing that you have, right? Keep the good things that you are being given. Um, but I guess if anybody's watching, I also want to encourage you by saying that some like many times, for most people, the idea of finding a job you want to do is not instant. It's not instantaneous. That's extremely rare. And I've met people like this. I have a cousin who had always wanted to be a physicist ever since he was young, but um, and he actually works as a physicist now. But this is an extremely rare case where somebody is born almost like born into the profession where they know what they want to do from when they're very young, and not only do they know it, they're actually very good at it, so they don't have to worry about that for the rest of their lives. But I think for most of us, it's just not how it is. We are pretty good at a few things, and because of that, we are drawn to something. But then when we get to it, we realize, okay, we like doing this as a hobby, but like when we're actually doing it as work, we just don't enjoy it that much. Or maybe the people that I work with, I just don't like. For whatever reason, for a lot of us, it's not a single linear trajectory. So if there's anybody out there who's actually like working hard to try and search for what it is that you want to do, I would say, you know what, take your time. As much as it pains me to say it, because I myself am also in this position where I kind of feel like I know what to do, and I feel like I'm closer to it than I was before. But even still, even in this position, I still want to say that it's okay to feel lost, and it's okay to feel like you don't know where you want to go. And I really hope that by just trying different things and little by little, like getting to know yourself and the job field better, that you'll be able to find what it is that you want to do, despite how hard it is sometimes. And even if it's for like an hour or 2 hours a day where you do different job searches or read something that you haven't before or trying something new, I really hope that you'll get to a place where you can find what you want to do, because I think not knowing what to do and not doing anything about it is a huge disservice to ourselves.